So we are joining together with the University of South Wales ITE Partnership and CaBan in the north of Wales to explore this journey with you. And from the outset, I am going to say that we are not the finished product. We are not presenting to you a golden package with a red ribbon, glitter, 4 balloons, all ready to hand over as a glorious parcel. It's something that we are developing, it's ongoing, we're making changes, we're learning from the journey that we're on. And that's why we've called our presentation Living Mentoring. What is it like to live with this new way of working? And we have divided our presentation into 3 parts. First, the creation of our new mentoring ideas, then the implementation, and finally the aspiration. And each partner will illustrate these parts of the journey with their own model of mentoring. And so without further ado, to begin, I'm going to hand over to Linda for the creation part of our journey.
Thanks, Elaine. Obviously, on behalf of the vision, we're going to be focusing on the creation of education mentoring provision. And interestingly, you've already seen and had a little bit of an insight into what mentoring is looking like for us following the first presentation. So we're going to be following on from that. So I'm Linda Davies-Smith and I'm the course leader for the undergraduate provision at the University of South Wales, and I'm going to be joined today to share this creation part with Rachel Ford, who's our QA lead in our Glanesque community of learning. And also we are speaking on behalf of our other QA leads. So you've already met Nick Rees today, but also Sarah Cook, Rhian Evans, Kerry Johnson, as well as Kath Jones, who is our lead for research and pedagogic practice. Importantly as well, when we go through this creation, what we can't fail to note is the importance of the students when we were looking at how we were going to develop our educative mentoring programme. And so we do have with us today as well 3 of our students, Owen Lewis, Louise Lloyd and Adam Jones. They're not going to be speaking, but they're certainly available for any questions that you might want to ask us at the end. So I'm going to hand over to Rachel first, who's going to kick off our slides, and then obviously I'm going to share the presentation with Rachel.
Linda, thank you. I'm just checking that you can hear me before I go any further.
Yes.
So you can see that first slide there, and we've entitled it about preparations for change. And what you can see here is the preparations for change that were undertaken, the development of a steering group to explore the context for change, the co-construction of a level 7 module and the assessment that goes with that, and the co-delivery and the evaluation of the mentoring professional development days. And what I hope comes through in what's written there on that slide, is that the theme of co-design and co-construction. From the very first year of the development, QA leads were welcomed to the university, and we were using the university as a site of inquiry. Collaborative principles were applied, and together QA leads and the university collaborated to develop our knowledge of mentoring. So very much so, it was collaboration. This was something that we were exploring and growing together. During this time, we looked at high quality and professionally relevant research. We collected evidence, we assessed and evaluated this, and in turn, this facilitated the development of the beliefs and the viewpoints that would frame not only our thinking, but also the development of a level 7 learning through mentoring module and the associated professional learning days in year 2. And we co-constructed a mentor handbook during this time, and this remains an all-important tool which scaffolds and strengthens our mentor knowledge, the understanding and the practice in line with our vision of the partnership. And I think for me, the takeaway of this slide is that dialogue and exploration are key to the change process, and also that this doesn't happen overnight. The time invested in year 1 and year 2 were invaluable in securing the new mentoring stance that were part of our vision. Next slide, please. Okay, so focusing a little bit more on year 2 here. And year 2 for us as QA leads and as part of the partnership were both crucial and challenging. It was a really challenging part of the change process for many reasons. And during this year, we as QA leads undertook 3 professional development and learning days. And the purpose of these days was to develop the mentoring handbook. And this actually resulted in the co-construction of a level 7 learning through mentoring module. And our engagement with research literature, ST and Welsh Government documentation up until this point had guided us towards educative mentoring as a model. However, we were very aware of the changes that would need to take place at school level in order for the approach to be understood and also valued at school level. Experiences both within and between our schools as QA leads within our communities made us very conscious of the paucity of time, the difference in mentors' experiences, their opinions, their values and their beliefs, and also a potential fear of research and academic biting. So we knew that our approach had to be coherent with an emphasis on making time for critical dialogue, time for shared testing. And we knew that this had to be a non-negotiable pedagogy for anybody that was working with our student teachers. Next slide, please. Diolch. So over the duration of the 3 PDL days that took place over year 2, we took the time to collaboratively inquire about the principles of educative mentoring and all research that supports that. So the kind of activities that we were engaged in, we explored perceptions, definitions and approaches to mentoring. We undertook personal skill and style audits, and we took time to discuss research papers. We explored perspectives of different stakeholders, and that included students, mentors, senior mentors, university staff. And we also thought about our own practice in light of these inquiries that we had made. We also spent a lot of time asking ourselves questions, key questions, and discussing them. We were asking ourselves questions such as, what is professionally relevant to us in our roles? What is relevant to our student teachers? What is relevant to mentors in their roles? What's noteworthy? What makes sense to us? What can be applied in a single school? What can be applied beyond a single school in that context? What's relevant to the Welsh context? Which aspects of our own or others' mentoring styles do we need to develop to ensure that this aligns with our vision? Which policies, systems and processes will need changing within our own context? And beyond this, which policies, systems and processes would need changing within our wider communities of learning? So we were constantly engaging in this kind of critical dialogue and reflection, and at times challenging each other's views, opinions and beliefs. And all the while, as this was happening, as QA leads, our beliefs in the educative approach to mentoring never faltered. And we became more aware of the need to shift from existing mentoring provision and training to the partnership model that currently exists. Mentoring practice in schools, we feel, is supported and strengthened by the strategies explored during the PDL days, things that we are now using within our communities of learning, and we are seeing happening in schools, things such as mentoring contracts, cycles of mentoring. The level of reflections and discussions would not be the standard that they are without the investment in these PDL days that led to it happening. Next slide, please. Over to you, Linda.
Thanks, Rachel. So for this, it was absolutely crucial that we wanted to be clear on the direction of change and how we wanted to raise the profile as well of our mentors within our partner schools. So, you know, by having the contract of mentoring, looking at the qualities that were needed in educative mentoring was all a massive part for us when we were looking at the creation of how we were going to develop our mentoring profile. So importantly as well, we were very mindful that previously the expert novice had possibly been the dominant relationship between the university and our partner schools as well, and between the university link tutors and the mentors, and then also between the mentor and the student teacher. And we wanted to really make sure that the actual process of mentoring with our student teachers and between the mentors on our the mentors on our QA leads and our partnership schools and the university would move fluidly between expert and novice, but also to becoming learning partners. And we were also very mindful that this would alter depending on the situation that the student mentor were in, or the mentor and the QA lead was in. So we wanted that fluidity really between both being expert and novice and learning partner as well. We wanted to establish the relationship and the place of trust that was so needed. It was also really important for us to, as a partnership, to ensure that our mentors were fully aware of how transferable these skills could be, and that we wanted to move very much away from only the relationship just being with the mentor and the student teacher. We wanted that to become firmly embedded throughout the whole school as well. It was very much important to us that the whole school saw the role of the mentor as very high profile, and the skills and qualities that were needed for it were not necessarily for anybody in the school. We had to be really careful on how we were selecting the mentor to be part of that crucial role with our student teachers. Thanks, Elaine. Next slide, please. So you'll be familiar with some of these slides because obviously they were used in the previous presentation, because they firmly embody everything that we wanted to get out of our partnership and the new IT programme, and particularly with the mentoring cycle. So in order to ensure that the mentor role was fully understood and focused, we wanted this cyclical process, particularly of, you know, the teachers being the learners themselves, the crucial development of creating space for collaboration, and essentially how this could be underpinned with high quality evidence and be very much research based. So the meshing of theory and practice, which you saw from the previous presentation, wasn't just for the student teacher in school, it was also for the mentors and anybody within that whole school environment to be part of, so that they could feel confident then in asking very difficult questions, posing different situations, really trying to underpin not just the how, but the why and the so what that comes with everything. Within sort of classrooms being as sites of inquiry, and the team teaching, and particularly the post-lesson dialogue that often we felt mentors didn't have a great deal of time in order to indulge in this previously, but we wanted to make sure it was firmly embedded in everything that was going on between the students and our mentors and our QA leads as well. Thanks, Elaine. Next slide. So what did this actually mean for us? So yes, it was going to be a new mentoring stance, very much around educative mentoring, you know, asking those difficult questions, really focusing on inquiry, really, ensuring that the students fully understood that meshing of theory to practice. The quality of dialogue and the time that was going to be given to that was huge for us when we focused on the mentoring contract. The different types of alternative practices as well. You know, as I said earlier, when we were focusing on the expert to novice, you know, we wanted to move away from, well, you model as a mentor, and then the student will try to replicate that. And we wanted to move very much away from the student, even in the first year, as I'm sure hopefully you did pick up from Michaela, with her relationship with the mentor, that very quickly as well, in certain aspects, they can become learning partners quite quickly. And then there is that fluidity between the moving between the two aspects. Inquiry had to be embedded. And we wanted that to not just come from the university, we wanted it to come from our schools, from our partner schools. We wanted them to be sharing their current inquiries and their research so that it was definitely working two ways between us. And of course then that was crucial to building the capacity for school improvement as well. And again, coming back to raising the profile of the mentor in our partner schools. And you know, it needed to be a case of moving away very much as we will all be honest and say in the past, right, we're having a student in through our door who's going to be a mentor for them. You know, we absolutely needed to move away from that. Thanks, Elaine.
Okay, so to end, we felt it was important to consider some takeaways. And I was thinking about the takeaways from a QA lead perspective and which things are crucial if we're going to look at co-design and professional learning for mentoring. And the first thing that really has been a key to change is that of space. Space for inquiry, space for scaffolding, space for exploration and the development of knowledge together, space to collect and assess professionally relevant evidence, space to understand and challenge our own experiences, our beliefs, our values, our viewpoints, as well as those of others. And I really can't emphasize enough how much and how effective having that space was for all of those involved in the partnership process, and how effective it remains now whilst this is happening in schools and we are giving mentors and student teachers the space to have these discussions. The other takeaway for me is senior leadership. Leaders need to know not only about educative mentoring approaches, but I think they need to truly believe in them also. School leaders that will make necessary changes to their systems and to their processes to ensure that inquiry is whole school based, as that's been discussed earlier in our presentations, but this is vital. And finally, that of coherence. Coherence encouraged with the use of pedagogies that support educative mentoring. We are really keen on educative mentoring, and it's the golden thread that underlies the vision of the partnership. And everything that we do has to support and enhance educative mentoring. And whether that's the mentoring contract, the given reflective cycles, templates, anything that captures discussions between student teachers and mentors, everything has to be coherent in supporting our vision of educative mentoring. And I think that then is providing a very unified approach that is developing educative mentoring, and it's key as a determiner in the success of the partnership. Next slide, please.
Thanks, Elaine.
Thank you, USW. And Rhys, it's over to you in the north from CaBan.
Diolch yn fawr Elaine. Bore da i chi gyd. Diolch John a Hazel am y cyfle i bod gyda chi heddiw i gyflwyno. Mae'n fraint ac yn bleser i mi yn bersonol ac i'r tîm yng CaBan o'r gogledd i gallu bod efo chi heddiw. Cyflwyno'n hyn yn sydyn, yn enw di Rhys Jones, dwi yn ddarlithydd ym Prifysgol Bangor, dwi yn gyfarwyddwr cwrs, y cwrs TAR o'r addedig, ac dwi'n arwain ar y rhaglen datblygu Mentora ar draws cyrsia CaBan a cyrsia is-raddedig ac o'r addedig uwchradd a cynradd. Felly, fyddai i'n cychwyn, welch jyst gan rannu ac egluro chi chydig bach am ein rhaglen datblygu Mentora ni yng CaBan. Yna, mi fydd yng nghydweithraig Sophie Kendrick. Mae Sophie yn fentor arwyn o'r rhwydwaith ac yn dod o ysgol Cymraeg Bryn Coch yn yr Wyddgrug yn Sir Fflint yn y gogledd. A mi fydd hi'n egluro chi sut yn union rydyn ni bod yn gweithredu'r rhaglen ar draws y cyrsia. Ac yn olaf, mi fydd yng nghydweithwyr arall, Geraint Llun, mentor arwyn o'r rhwydwaith, sydd ysgol David Hughes ym Mhorthaethwyn yn Ynys Môn. Mi fydd o'n yn trafod gyda chi yn rhannu y llwyddiannau, yr heriau da ni wedi gwynebu wrth i ni weithredu hyn, a datblygiadau chynllunio sydd gynnon ni ar gyfer y dyfodol. Felly, mae'r effaith, be da ni wedi gael ydy trio ailosod, nid yn unig yr arddull, ond y diwylliant o Mentora ar draws CaBan yn y broses o greu a gweithredu'r rhaglen datblygu Mentora. da ni wedi mabwysiadu ryw ymagwedd ymddiddanol neu deilogaeth ac addysg iodawn i'r ffordd da ni'n gweithio. Datblygwyd hyn mewn cydweithrediad â gwahanol rhanddeiliaid a phrosiectau peilot. A da ni'n teimlo bod ni'n allweddol yn ni yn bod ni'n parhau i ddatblygu, i ddireilio a gwella'r ddarpariaeth yma. Da ni'n credu'n gryf mae mentora effeithiol o'r ansawdd uchaf yw un o'r prif ffactorau, hwyrach y prif ffactor sydd yn arwain i addysg cychwynnol i athrawon o'r radd flaenol. Felly, be wnaethon ni wrth i ni gychwyn ar y daith yma oedd cyd-greu yr rhaglen datblygu mentora trylunio gweledigaeth. Mae'n broses organic ac mae rhywbeth da ni yn ymweld hefo yn eitha cyson fel tîm yn y brifysgol ac ysgolion ac rhywbeth dwi'n siŵr ac mi fydd yn esblygu dros amser. Felly, dyma di'n gweledigaeth ni, mae rhyw fath o datganiad. A fel mae'n nodi, da ni'n meddwl bod mentora arbenigol yn ganolog i lwyddiant gweledigaeth CaBan. Mae gweledigaeth CaBan ar gyfer mentora yn seiliedig ar ddeialog, mae'n canolbwyntio ar wella dysgu athrawon cyswllt i addysgu. Mae mentora effeithiol yn broses ddwy ffordd sy'n datblygu dull a fyfyriol o ddysgu. Felly, fel dwi'n dweud, da ni'n synnu pob dim ar y ddeialog barhaus, bod hynny mewn sefyllfa ffurfiol ac anffurfiol, bod hi'n berthynas democrataidd a chyfartal rhwng yr athro cyswllt, dyna byddwn ni'n galw i myfyrwyr ni i godi statws y myfyriwr yn yr ysgol. Felly y berthynas cyfartaledd mae rhwng yr athro cyswllt a'r mentor. Lle mae'r ddau berson yn elwa, yn dysgu a'i gilydd ac o'r ddiwythu gilydd drwy broses o fyfyrio ac ymchwilio. Si symud ymlaen i sleid nesaf, sgwylwch yna, Eleni. Move on to the next slide. Ac i'r un nesaf, can you pass on to the next one? Diolch. Mae gen i fi rhai sleidiau sydd yn Gymraeg ac yn y Saesneg, felly lle mae o jyst yn y Gymraeg yn y Saesneg, fyddai'n dangos y sleid Saesneg ac yn cyflwyno yn y Gymraeg. Felly, be da ni wedi gwneud hefyd ydy, da ni wedi adnabod am mynegyn glir sut mae athrawon newydd, y novice teacher yn dysgu. Newch chi weld hynny, da ni wedi nodi, da ni'n credu'n gryf bod yr athrawon cyswllt yn dysgu trwy deialog, trwy arsylwi, trwy cydweithio, trwy ymchwilio. A mae'r arddull yma o ddysgu yn sail yn darpariaeth. Mae dyn sy'n bydd yn llwyr i brofiadau myfyrwyr, boed nhw yn yr ysgol a'r brifysgol. A felly, mae'r mentor yn ganolog i hyn, y mentor sy'n hwyluso hyn, y mentor sy'n ganolog i hyn, a nhw sy'n pontio o'r dysgu o'r brifysgol i'r ysgol. Symud ymlaen i'r sleid nesaf, os gwelwch yna, Eleni. A felly, da ni wedi adnabod ac yn ymwybodol bod ein mentoriaid ni yn gweithredu nifer o'r olau gwahanol, ond yn bennaf, da ni wir yn credu bod nhw'n gweithredu fel hwyluswyr, myfyrwyr, maen nhw'n hwyluso i dysgu, i'w datblygiad, ac yn ei trawsnewid i fod yn athrawon sy'n barod i gymryd y cam nesaf ar ei traeth proffesiynol pan maen nhw'n gadael ni. Ac y sleid nesaf, os gwelwch yna, Eleni. A felly, be da ni wedi creu ydy creu rhwydweithiau ar draws y gogledd, ac yn y rhwydweithiau yma, dyma sut da ni wedi gallu gweithredu yr rhaglen, ydy creu cymuned, nid yn unig o athrawon cyswllt, ond cymuned o mentoriaid sy'n cydweithio gyda gilydd ac yn datblygu ddarpariaeth ar draws y gogledd. Felly, dwi'n wedi basio chi ymlaen i Sophie, am fydd hi'n parhau am yr cyflwyniad. Diolch.
Diolch, Rhys. Bore da, pawb. I'm Sophie Kendrick, and I am Head of Reception at Ysgol Bryn Coch and Mould, and I'm a primary school network lead for CaBan Bangor. The network lead role is a new mentor role which was created by CaBan, one that I feel has had the most positive impact and has actually steered the most change. CaBan was established by university and school partners working collaboratively to create change across all of our programmes, the PGCE, BA, primary and secondary. This approach relies on joint ownership and accountability by both partners. It has lead schools taking on the role of developing mentoring skills across the whole school, which resulted in schools applying mentor development to their school improvement plans, demonstrating that this just isn't a change within the university, it's a significant change which is impacting in school. It's a whole school approach to mentoring development. School partners have worked collaboratively with the university tutors. We've helped to design, shape and evolve our CaBan model and vision. This is something which is new and exciting, an approach which I feel has supported our success to date. As Network Lead Mentor, I sit in the centre of the Bryn Coch network. Within my network, I work collaboratively with numerous schools, sharing our CaBan vision. I support with mentor training, and I also deliver key university messages. I am the link between university and our school partners. CaBan has identified the importance of the role of the mentor, the importance of every mentor. We strongly believe that high quality and effective mentoring is ultimately the #1 factor that will lead to world-class teachers in education provision. When launching CaBan, it was vital that we had all mentors present in the implementation of our mission, sharing our vision together. We held a conference which was for all mentors to attend, network lead mentors, principal mentors, class and subject mentors. It was a huge event in our CaBan calendar. It's important the same message is being passed to all, that we're all present together, establishing our mentor learning community across North Wales. These conferences are being held annually and they are vital. As networks, we can work collaboratively from the beginning of an academic year, share our mentor expectation and convey key messages to implement across all of our network schools. Upon reflection, we're going to hold mentor conferences at the end of the year. This will also allow us to share good practice within each network, give us time to collectively reflect on the year and target key areas of development for the next year. However, due to COVID, this hasn't been possible, but it's something we intend to do at the end of this year. So the role of the mentor. As previously discussed by Rhys, CaBan developed this approach and programme in collaboration with different stakeholders and piloted projects. These piloted programmes were both across the primary and secondary sector. The opinions and views of both settings were all heard and evaluated, and by the introduction of the Network Lead Mentor, CaBan is able to link theory to practice through the collaboration of university and school partners. Schools have the resources and knowledge. We're at the front line delivering practice day in, day out. University supports the research and theory models, pinpointing exactly what's happening in our classrooms. Both of these roles are crucial in our CaBan model. We're able to link theory into practice, demonstrating a two-way collaboration, joint ownership and accountability by both partners. So how is this different? This approach has seen a transition from university leading every aspect of the course to a more co-constructive model, a model which I feel reflects the approaches and teaching to learning in Wales perfectly. We are seeing the shift from teachers only being seen as a teacher in the classroom. We are now teacher educators, teacher researchers. We have the ability and the responsibility to support and shape our future teachers, as well as the children in our classrooms. CaBan Bangor now demonstrates how school partners are shaping the course, delivering lectures in school environments, as well as upskilling mentors from other schools by holding our mentor development sessions. School partners are fundamental in this change in ITE. As previously discussed, as Network Lead Mentor, I sit in the middle of the network. In having my network, I've established a learning community within my schools. We're able to build positive relationships by sharing good practice and ideas and how best to support the development of our ATs. And as well as this, we're able to support our own professional development. This has been established due to regular mentor development sessions. Within these sessions, Network Lead Mentors lead the session with the support from the university tutor. This allows us to develop and train key people, the mentors who are directly working with our associate teachers. These sessions have been vital, again, in implementation of our CaBan vision. The mentor development sessions have been created by the Mentor Development Group. The group consists of university tutors and network lead mentors across both primary and secondary. As network leads, we are now able to work as part of the QA process of our networks. We are able to go in and support our schools with their mental development. We are able to observe and support and have a critical eye. Then we have time to share our experiences and reflect on what we've seen and develop our mentoring model further. We can suggest ways and how it can be implemented within each individual network through our mentor training. Within the mentor development group, we plan and we create sessions to be shared. The mentor development group has now a shared responsibility to monitor, evaluate and improve the mentoring across the whole of North Wales. Okay, Geraint, over to you. Thank you.
Diolch yn fawr iawn, Sophie. Hoffwn ni gychwyn efo chi bore yma wrth sôn am yr heriau sydd wedi gwynebu ni wrth i ni fod yn cefnogi a datblygu mentoriaid ar draws yn rhwydweithiau. Yr her gyntaf da ni wedi cael ydy edrych ar gwahanol rolau o fewn y rhwydwaith. A dwi'n meddwl yn draddodiadol, mae yna lot o'r ffocws wedi bod ar cefnogaeth i mentoriaid yn ffocysu ar y mentor pwnc neu'r mentor dosbarth yn y cynradd. Ac eich bod rôl yr prif mentor wedi cael ei nghofio i raddau. Ond beth da ni wedi ffeindio ydy bod rôl y prif mentor yn enwedig o ran sicrhau ansawdd o fewn y broses mentora, o fewn ysgolion rhwydwaith, yn hanfodol. Da ni wedi gwynebu rhai heriau yn y maes yma. Hefyd, mae rôl yr mentor arweiniol y rhwydwaith fel Sophie a finna yn rôl eitha newydd. So felly, da ni wedi cael heriau wrth feddwl sut da ni wedi datblygu'r elfen yma ymhellach. Ac yn enwedig hefyd, sut da ni wedi blethu'r gwaith y mentor arweiniol gyda'r gwaith y tiwtor yn y brifysgol, bod y plethu yna'n digwydd yn naturiol. Yn ddaearyddol hefyd, fel y swnwyd gan Elwyn a John, mae gennym ni heriau wirioneddol yn rhwydwaith ni. Dwi'n gyfrifol am y rhwydwaith uwchradd cyfrwng Cymraeg, a maen nhw'n ysgolion ni ar wasgar y Rhyd Gogledd Cymru, o Botwnog, holl ffordd i'r Wrecsam, neu o ben Sir Fôn, holl ffordd lawr i'r Bala. A mae datblygu y berthynas efo'r mentoriaid pan da ni'n gwynebu ardal mor eang wedi bod yn her yn ei hun. Creu'r cyswllt na ac adeiladu'r berthynas. Perthynas sy'n hanfodol mwyn sicrhau bod ni'n cefnogi'r mentoriaid yn effeithiol. Ac yn dilyn ymlaen o'r pwynt yna o ran yr daearyddiaeth, mae gennym ni'r her o ran cyfathrebu. Bod ni'n sicrhau bod ni'n cysylltu efo'r unigolion cywir. Mae ysgolion yn llefydd mawr, yn llefydd prysur, a bod ni'n sicrhau bod y negeseuon allweddol sydd ganddo ni fel partneriaeth yn cyrraedd y pobl cywir. Mae hwnnw wedi bod yn her. Ond hefyd, un ethos sydd yn gyrru ni ydy'r elfen yma o ddeialog. A sicrhau bod y cyfathrebu'n effeithiol ddwy ffordd, bod y cyfathrebu'n dod o CaBan i'r ysgolion rhwydwaith, ond hefyd bod ni hefyd fel mentoriaid arweiniol a'r brifysgol yn cael negeseuon allweddol ynglyn â'r mentora. A un her arall da ni wedi bod yn ei wynebu eleni hefyd ydy datblygu cyfraniaid rhanddeiliaid ar draws y rhwydwaith. Yn amlwg, da ni'n cyfeirio at adeiladu ar be oedd Sophie wedi gyfeirio yn hynt, lle bod rôl yr mentor arweiniol y rhwydwaith yn datblygu. Ond hefyd, da ni'n awyddus iawn yn bod ni'n cynyddu y cyfraniad sy'n yna o'r ysgolion rhwydwaith hefyd, yna nid jyst yr ysgolion arweiniol ydy'r ysgolion sydd efo llais o fewn y partneriaeth. Ond hefyd, edrych i ddatblygu rôl gwen hyn i gyd, achos mae gen gwe gwybodaeth arbenigol a adnabyddiaeth o ysgolion ar draws yn rhwydwaith ni. Diolch, sy'n ni'n cael mynd i'r sleid nesaf os gwelwch chi dda, Elen. A sa'ch chi roi 2 glic arall, 2 more clicks, please. Diolch yn fawr. Un peth da ni wedi ffindio, unwaith eto yn cyfeirio at y sgwrs oedd Elwyn a John yn ei gael ynghynt, ydy'r llwyddiannau da ni wedi gael eleni o ran y pandemig a llwyddiant annisgwyl yn herma'r sesiynau da ni wedi gynnal efo mentoriaid ar-lein. Mae'r ymgysylltu yn y sesiynau yma wedi bod yn llawer iawn uwch nag oedden nhw pan da ni'n disgwyl i rywun drafeilio holl ffordd o'r wythgrig draw yma i Borthaethwy. Hefyd, oherwydd bod y sesiynau yn fwy yn gallu cael eu cynnal yn amser byrach, oherwydd i'r trafeilio ddim yn rhan yno, da ni wedi gallu cynnig hyblygrwydd i fewn i'r sesiynau hefyd. Mi gafon ni 2 ysgol yn y mis dwytha o ddim yn gallu ymuno efo ni ar y dyddiad oedden ni wedi paratoi'r sesiwn, ond mi oedden ni ddigon hyblyg wedyn i gallu cynnal sesiynau ar-lein efo'r ysgolion yna chydig o ddyddiau wedyn. A mae hwnnw'n allweddol mwyn sicrhau bod y negeseuon cywir yn cyrraedd y pobl cywir. Ac yn ogystal, da ni wedi eleni cychwyn anfon allan bwletin wythnosol sy'n cefnogi'r sesiynau da ni'n gael o mentoriaid ar-lein. Un datblygiad enfawr eleni hefyd ydy'r gwahaniaethu da ni wedi wneud o ran y hyfforddiant a gefnogaeth sy'n yna i fentoriaid. Dwi eisoes wedi sôn amdan pwysigrwydd gwahaniaethu rhwng y gefnogaeth i prifentoriaid ac i fentoriaid pwnc neu mentoriaid dosbarth, gan bod gynnon nhw rolau gwahanol o ran cefnogi'r athrawon cysylltiol. Ond un datblygiad sydd wedi'n nghyffroi i yn bersonol ydy'r cynnig i fentoriaid ar draws y rhwydwaith i gael ddilyn gwneud gwaith pellach ar lefel meistr i fewn i Mentora. Mae yna amryw o fentoriaid arweiniol y rhwydwaith a hefyd prifentoriaid i fewn ysgolion wedi ymgysylltu a wedi derbyn y cyfle yma. Mae hwnnw hefyd wedyn yn cryfhau'r linc na sydd rhwng y theori ac yr ymarfer ar lawr dosbarth. A un peth arall da ni wedi bod yn gweithio'n galad yn ôl eleni ydy cynyddu'r deialog. A unwaith eto yn cyfeirio at y deialog yma sy'n dod dwy ffordd. Mae hwn yn newid mawr i bawb. Nid yn unig i'r ysgolion, ond hefyd i'r brifysgol, lle mae wedi arfer bod yn broses un ffordd fel y glywon ni gyn yn y cyflwyniad cynt. Ond yr nod gan ni yma yn CaBan ydy bod drwy gynyddu'r deialog, bod y broses o mentora a cefnogi mentoriaid yn rhywbeth sy'n digwydd efo'r ysgolion yn hytrach na fel oedd yn y gorffennol yn rhywbeth oedd yn digwydd i'r ysgolion. Mae'r perthynas yma da ni'n adeiladu efo'r ysgolion y rhwydwaith yn graidd i esblygiad ein rhwydwaith ni. Diolch yn fawr, sy'n mynd i'r sleid nesaf. Un elfen mawr iawn da ni wedi bod yn gweithio ar eleni a wbeth sy'n newydd gael i roed yn ei le, ydy datblygiad model datblygiad athrawon cysylltiol un sy'n seiliedig i CaBan. Da ni wedyn wedi cwerid y model datblygiad yma sydd wedi cael ei datblygu o ddealltwriaeth, o waith ymchwil ar draws y maes, a da ni wedi cysylltu fo i'r safona athrawon wrth ei gwaith. A drwy gysylltu hwn wedyn i'r safona, da ni'n gallu amlygu'r nodweddion mae'r athrawon cysylltiol yn ei ddangos ar lawr dosbarth, a ni sy'n gliriach i mentoriaid ar cam cynnydd mae'r athrawon cysylltiol wedi cyrraedd. Drwy hyn wedyn, da ni wedi i'w gysylltu fo i strategaethau mentora penodol fel bod y mentoriaid yn gallu amrywio'r gefnogaeth a'r arddulliau maen nhw ddefnyddio i gefnogi'r athrawon cysylltiol yn fwy effeithiol. Mae'r gwaith yma wedi cael ei arwain gan Rhys, ond yn cynnwys nid yn unig staff o'r brifysgol, ond hefyd mentoriaid o ysgolion wrth ddatblygu'r model yma. A mae'r elfen yna o gydweithio yn rhywbeth sydd wedi'n nghyfroi i unwaith eto yn bersonol, achos mae'n dangos pwysigrwydd y partneriaeth wrth i ni symud yn ein blaenau ni. Diolch yn fawr iawn.
Thank you very much all, and you will start to hear now some echoes of common themes running across partnerships, the strength of collaboration, the importance of moving away from novice expert mimicry when it comes to mentoring, and it just falls on the Athrofa Professional Learning Partnership here at UWTSD to conclude our living mentoring session by thinking about aspiration. And these are the questions that you can already see that we are kicking around on the partnership rugby pitches. What does it look like? Why do we need mentoring? And more importantly, how do we make it better? And I suppose that as an aspiration, we are considering how do we have an impact on a system rather than just within our individual partnerships. Where is mentoring fitting in with the journey from ITE through to the NQT year, through to the practicing teacher, the experienced teacher, and into leadership? And one of our aspirations is that this is seen as a natural continuum of learning. So when you reach a new post, you're actually saying, you know, where's my mentor for this post? And that mentoring relationship empowers and enables both the mentor and the mentee. So we're going to share some of our aspirations through our model of mentoring with you. We have on the presentation Catherine Bleasdale, who's our strategic lead for partnership, and Liz Curzon, an assistant head from Ysgol Cwmbronbil, who's one of our network leads. So over to you, Catherine.
Thank you, Elaine. Diolch yn fawr. And as Elaine said, there are lots of echoes in what we're going to say in this element, but based in that context of aspiring to that sort of natural progression. And I can see in the chat that there's been a query about how we can develop our mentoring skills into the teaching career. And these are the things that we are considering and aiming to develop in our practice, and obviously the aspiration is that will be an expectation wherever you are and whatever part of your career you're looking at. So as you can see here, we're reaching our aspiration in Yr Athrofa with a mentoring program that has been co-constructed and is developing as our understanding of our practices is developing as well. And actually talking about the positives of COVID, I know we don't speak about them very often, but some of the ways that we have innovated on our practices during COVID times has led to some really key developments in the way that we work. So, we must remember when we look back on this time that it gave us opportunities as well as challenges. So as you see there, we're developing a mentoring model that's based on dialogue. And in a way, when I think about student teachers being given the opportunity and the support to develop their proficiency in being able to speak in a professionally informed way, we have to recognize that that's the mentor's support that is giving them that opportunity to speak and to be empowered to engage in professional dialogue. We, as with many other provisions and partnerships, we are focusing on establishing meaningful relationships between student teachers and mentors. And one of the ways in which we can do that is by putting a student teacher into a network and letting them live in that network for the whole of the time that they are on the program of ITE. So they get to know the personnel very well. They get to know mentors from the partner schools as well as the lead school during their engagements in lots of different activities, which then obviously has a positive impact when they begin their placement and they are working with mentors. And we look in our mentor development at some of the ways that we develop those effective relationships with our student teachers. We're looking at this idea of instructional and non-directive mentoring, and there's an element of differentiation in the way that we deal with our student teachers, and obviously we do that according to need, and sometimes the challenges that we recognise are to do with the individual part of the progression that the student teacher is currently working at. So in enabling our mentors and senior mentors, our network leads and our university tutors, we have devised a 3-part programme for the mentor development. And you can see there that in our grade 1 development, it's a programme for all APLP staff. So it was mentioned earlier that the intention isn't just that the mentor in the classroom or the mentor within the subject area is the one person who is able to support and to develop and to provide input for that student teacher, that we're aspiring to all members of staff within an APLP school being able to support a student teacher and to have that understanding of the model and be able to mentor in an effective way. We then have grade 2 and grade 3 programs, which are designed for different parts of the partnership. So we have grade 2 looking at student teacher mentors and tutors. So people directly involved with the student teacher on a placement or in an activity would be undertaking this program. It's a co-constructed program that looks at enabling the mentors to be able to carry out their really important role and feel confident in that role. And then for grade 3, the emphasis is on leading the mentoring. So looking at the network leads, the senior mentors, and our professional tutors from the university. And you can see there again that aspiration of putting status for the mentors, people who are involved, by offering a module, 30 credits at level 7, and that will raise the profile of mentoring across the partnership. Okay, diolch yn fawr.
Good morning all. This section is looking at the views of mentoring of those involved now and those involved last year. The views of everyone involved are key in how we move forward. So within Athrofa, we have many excellent mentors that have embraced the training delivered by the partnership. They are the ones actually living and breathing mentoring every day when working with the student teachers. Next slide, please, Elaine. The following clips are the voices of a mentor and mentee, that's Gemma and Katie, describing how and why their relationship has worked so well.
The relationship between Katie and I was very positive from the outset. Katie was keen, enthusiastic, and wanted to succeed as a teacher. We set a pace that would enable Katie to build her confidence in the classroom and build upon her strengths. It was clear from the outset that Katie's strength was her ability to forge positive relationships with pupils, and team teaching was the best approach for us to take. Katie and I discussed this, and she was happy to take this route. We met both formally and informally and worked closely with one another, and Katie observed and worked with other members of the department. Katie was open and honest about areas of teaching that she found more challenging and sought advice on how to address this. She took on board feedback from lesson observations and asked pertinent questions about her next steps. This enabled us to develop a dialogue about her progress and classroom practice. Furthermore, Katie built great relationships with staff across the school and was able to benefit from their expertise too. She always looked for opportunities to incorporate their advice into her own practice. Overall, Katie's willingness to work with colleagues and her motivation to succeed and do well made for a great mentoring relationship.
Throughout my time at Ysgol Cwmbronville, I received a great deal of guidance and support from my mentor. Gemma and I established an excellent relationship from the very start. We spoke often, team-taught lessons, and worked at a pace that allowed me to gain confidence over time. Whilst receiving feedback from lesson observations, we spoke positively and honestly about my strengths and areas that I needed to improve. I felt I was able to seek advice from Gemma and highlight areas that I found more challenging. Therefore, Gemma's mentoring skills allowed me to be reflective and proactive within my teaching. Also, Gemma's expertise, excellent subject knowledge and history, and inspiring outlook encouraged me to work at a high standard. Because of Gemma, I was able to play a role in departmental meetings and the online history club. I also formed a strong link with the Welsh department, something Gemma established because of my Welsh fluency skills. Not only has my mentor helped me progress, but also made me feel a deep sense of belonging within the school.
As you heard, progress was evident due to the positive relationship that was developed. So moving forward, positive, respectful relationships need to be developed with everyone who has contact with developing the teachers of the future. Mentor development is certainly key. Students also must realise its importance and reciprocate that relationship. So on this slide here, we need to be mindful that mentoring just doesn't stop with the ITE students, but it does become a continuum for the profession. The video that you're going to see is from a current NQT. We need to know how to move forward by asking those who are and have been part of the process. The NQT Bethan, who you're going to see in a minute, was asked to discuss the questions that you can see in the speech bubbles.
Hello, my name is Bethan and I am currently an English NQT at the lovely school Ysgol Cymru in Neath Port Talbot. So last year I completed my PGC training at the University of Wales, Trinity St David. So when I think back to the IT programme, the mentors I was assigned to, I feel extremely lucky and fortunate to have been placed within the support network that I had found myself within. So my senior mentor, for example, was tremendously approachable. So they always focused on reminding us trainee teachers that one, their door was always open, and two, no question was ever too silly to ask, which eased my anxiety a lot, especially during my training. They were aware of my dread and my anxiety about certain things of the trainee programme. So things like the professional learning passport, for example, that was alien to me, which resulted in becoming very daunting for me as well. So as a result of this dread, if you like, my senior mentor conducted a thorough run through of the PLP and demonstrated one, how to create an experience, and then two, how to, and most significantly, how to use this platform as the reflective tool it's intended to be. So I also found weekly check-ins with my mentors, so my subject mentors, extremely beneficial. These enabled me to build excellent reports with these mentors to a point, again, where I felt no question was ever too small or too silly to ask. These check-ins were crucial for me as I was able to relay any concerns that I had on a one-to-one basis and then be able to receive their experience and advice on how to either achieve a certain target or to resolve any concerns that I had. So when I think back as to if these mentors met my needs, then again, I believe that I was very fortunate to have experienced the support that I had during the ITE programme. I found all mentors during the programme, whether they be personal or professional, extremely helpful and very informative. The network I trained within, as mentioned, was extremely supportive, and I had different points of contact for different reasons, so I never really went without any advice or support, and I never really left my placement that day or university that day with any issues or queries that were still unresolved. Lastly then, in terms of the continuum from being mentored as a student to now as an NQT, if anything, I believe I am now more supported than ever, which I didn't think was quite possible when I reflect back to the mass amount of support that I received last year. For example then, as my training was cut short last year, I had huge fears about joining the role as a form tutor. I was expected to start my NQT year as a Year 7 form tutor, and I dreaded this because it was alien to me. So just like my senior mentor did in my PGCE with the PLP, my senior mentor during my NQT year conducted a thorough run through of the role of a form tutor. Explained to me, one, what was expected from me, and then two, what was I should expect from my year as a Year 7 form tutor, which again was extremely beneficial. I am very fortunate to have ended up in the department that I have ended up in, because my weekly check-ins with my subject mentors from my PGC year now occur, if anything, on a day-to-day basis. I receive support from all angles, whether that be my NQT mentors, subject mentors, or SLT. I've regular knocks on my door, checking in to see how I'm coping, and then I have regular mentor meetings then with each different mentor that I have for each different reason. So I will go and see my senior NQT mentor to relay any anxieties that I have about the overall role, but then I have my subject mentors to sort of relay any concerns I have just purely English based. So my answer is, regarding the continuum, I feel, and I didn't think it was possible, but I feel now as an NQT that I am, if anything, more supported than what I was as a trainee teacher. Thank you.
So it's vital that professional learning conversations, as you heard from Bethan there, are had, and that questions, evaluation and reflection on practice are at the centre of those conversations. Positive relationships have to be developed to enable this professional conversation to happen. And I think all schools also need to embrace this way of working for everyone who's involved with education. Thanks, Elaine.
Thank you. So to conclude then, we need to perhaps discover a little bit more how student teachers learn and understand that journey of the beginner teacher. We need to unpick coaching and mentoring, so we're not grouping them together without understanding their parts. And then Bethan raises some key things, and to be deliberately provocative, she says fortunate and lucky. And I think in a system of effective mentoring, we would need to remove those words from the dialogue. And she also speaks of different points of contact. So we may need to think of the range of mentors a student teacher or a teacher might need. So many thanks, and thank you for colleagues involved in our presentation.